What a day we had today. So many Bitcoin miners were down dramatically today, even though Bitcoin was up. I'm only going to go over the ones that had some big drops today. I'm talking 6% plus. I'm not going to talk about the other ones today, just those ones that had those big drops. There's just so much going on there. I'm going to do a quick update on the MSTR trade setup I gave you yesterday. I'm also going to go and circle back and look at some tickers I haven't talked about in a while, but have been featured on the channel and see how they're doing lately and do a quick analysis of those. This is going to be a bit of a lightning round for the entire video, so let's just get right into it and hit the ground running. So you can see Bitcoin was up 2.17% today. We're coming up on the midline here of the Fib Bollinger Bands. Let me go ahead and turn on my my SMAs for Bitcoin here. We're still beneath the 200-day moving average. We're about to test that thing from underneath. The 200-day is at 58,825. We get above that, we're going to be doing very, very well on here and move our way up to the top of this channel once more, which is up at that $63,000 level, especially if we break this green descending trend line here. That is going to be looking really good and take us right up to the 50-day moving average, which is currently at about $65,000. If we can hold above that. Below this level down here, I've got marked, which is 55,808. Below that, we're going to be having a bad time. Also, take a look at this descending channel that I've got drawn on here right now. This one right here, this very aggressive, very tight descending channel. When we're done with this thing's going to explode upward. It's going to be similar. Which ones were pretty easily noticeable as something that was controlled like this? We haven't really seen one like this in quite some time here. That was like a controlled sell-off that methodical, that tight in a long time on Bitcoin. So yeah, when this thing breaks, it's going to break big. This is some big sellers have been in here pushing this thing down, and now it's looking like it's ready to maybe come out sideways of this and then pop out of here. When it does, it's going to be beautiful. Let's take a look at MicroStrategy. Today was up 0.87%, even though Bitcoin is up 2%. So it didn't quite follow it as strongly as you would like. It is up in post. I did get in on this red line down here. So I got in at like about 1260, 1270. Here it is currently at 1305. So I'm actually up like 2 or 3% or something. Nothing like amazing yet. I am looking for a move. Potentially if we go down into like the 2-hour chart, which is the one I was using. Yeah, the 2-hour chart. If we go down into the 2-hour chart, I was going based off of this little blue label up here, pitch. That's my pitch. And I'm looking for it to go up to at least this orange line, where I expect some struggle perhaps, or if I don't get any, I'll go up to the green line. But if I get struggle at the orange line, I might cut it, because this is a short-term trade I'm doing here. This is not a long-term thing. So it is going my way. I got in below the white line, and I am, above the white line now, and it is just one share because the options are way too expensive for me. So I just bought a share, and I'm just watching it kind of like drift on up. That's what I'm doing with MicroStrategy right now. If it gets back below 1258, I'll cut it and wait for it to come down to like 1200 again. But currently it is up above that. It's above 1300, and I'm enjoying this trade so far right now. All right, let's move on to the Bitcoin miners that went down in a big way. Let's take a look here. Digital was down 6.9% today. This is actually not too bad. I'm not too concerned about this because, turn on some SMAs, we didn't even go below the 5-day moving average today. So all we did was come back to the 5-day moving average. We haven't gone below it. If we can hold up above this flag right here, as long as we're holding above this flag right here, I'm super bullish on Digital. So that is holding above $3.48. As long as we're above, honestly, above 350, as long as we're above 350, and have nothing but a wick below 350, I am bullish on Digital. I am enjoying this move right here. This is not so bad. This is just a normal move in the day of Digital. And of course, none of this is financial advice or a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. It's just chart analysis. Take a look at Bitfarms. How did Bitfarms today? It's going to do this on every tab, isn't it? Bitfarms, also not too bad. You can see that we came down to almost being oversold on the RSI, on the daily RSI, a couple of days ago. We did a 50 retest, well, a little over 50, and now we're coming back down. But we are hitting this purple line here. We are actually still in a pretty good, like if I go here to here and I do this, like I'm really not upset about this movement. We have a descending channel here, right? We came up to the top of that channel, back to the midline of that channel. If we go sideways and up and out of this thing, I'd be looking for some pretty nice movements on this. And this is the Canadian version. Let me look at the US version. Same thing. Yeah, same sort of price action. Sometimes it's a little different, but same sort of action. So let me just go here and here. Yeah, same channel. All right. When it comes out of this channel, I'd be looking for it to quickly return to $3. Now, if it breaks below this pink line here at 238, below 238, I'm looking for a return to lower $2, $2.20, $2. I don't think it'll go back below 230 though. I think the retail investors are heavily invested in it staying above 230, just as a middle finger to um, just as like a just to spite Riot. I think the retail investors are going to keep this thing above 230, but we'll see. I mean, we're currently at 249. We did come off from a jump up to 328. Let's see this thing. Let's see what's going to. I feel like this is a healthy pullback right here on the way up. If we can come up and clear that 330 area, honestly 325. If we can clear 325, we'll very likely get up into these red clouds up here above. And if we don't do that, then we likely will come back down to $2 at some point in the near future. Hopefully that isn't the case. Hopefully we get a move up, especially with a new CEO. Was it Ben Gagnon? I believe that was how it was said. I pronounced it terribly yesterday, and then I learned that it was French, and I was like, oh, that's why I didn't pronounce it right, because it's French. So I made I embarrassed myself yesterday to try to redeem myself there today, saying his name halfway correct, or as well as an American could say it. Anyways, that's Bitfarms right now. Let's take a look at Hut. Hut was also down big today. Hut was down 8.35%, but we were above the cloud. So, I mean, that's something to expect. I really would like to see Hut come down way more than this, actually. I'd like to see Hut. That's not what I wanted. I wanted this one. Turn this off. Turn this off. Okay. Give me this one back. All right. I would like to see this one. So it came back to the 5-day moving average, which is good, but it closed slightly below it. I would like to see Hut come back to the 20-day moving average at $18. Honestly, I can't believe how high Hut went. Hut is going nuts. I mean, if you've been in this thing since May, congratulations. You're killing it. You're absolutely crushing it. So you're doing super, super well. But I am looking for a move closer to that 20-day moving average. I don't like it closed below the 5. I know it's just barely below the 5. We'll have to see what happens tomorrow. If it opens with a gap down tomorrow, I'd be looking for a move to the 20-day moving average very, very soon on Hut. 8%. I mean, we're still on the upper. I mean, we can go down to the 50 on the RSI and still be above this 20-day moving average. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see it come down there right now. But I would watch it. Tomorrow's open. It will tell us a lot about what Hut is going to do going forward. Take a look at IREN, just like all the others. Okay, IREN was up above the cloud as well. Not above, but near the top of the cloud, the fib cloud again today, just like some of the others here. Again, I'm just watching this. Now, this came to the 5-day, I believe. No, it went under it closed under the 20-day moving average. Okay. In post, it is right at the 20-day moving average. Well, just below it still. It's the 20-day moving average is at 13.18. It closed below it. It is below it in post. If it opens tomorrow below the 20-day moving average, so below $13.18, I would be looking for IREN to revisit that 1126 level. I'd be looking for it to come here. Minimum, I'd be looking for it to come to 1187. Which would be the base of this candle here from June 27th and the top of the candle from June 28th. I would be looking for it to come to there at a minimum if it opens up below 20-day moving average and hangs out there for any amount of time. If it doesn't just blast off tomorrow, I'd be looking for it to come down to that 1127 area. And that is actually an area I would be interested in buying if I see strength. If I see any kind of weakness here, I'm looking for a move down to 967. If not, if I see strength, I'd be looking for it to retest the highs again and maybe, create a head and shoulder, something like come down, come back up like this, and then dive down to this area again sometime around October. That's what I'd be looking for there, which I don't know, something like that. That's what I'd be looking for on IREN. CORZ. What is going on with CORZ? CORZ also down 7.72% today. It is still in this ascending channel though. If it breaks below, I mean it is below, but in post it is going up, so it is staying inside of it just barely. If we lose that ascending channel, I'd be looking for it to come down to 831. If we lose 831, let me go down here. If we lose 831, I'd be looking for it to be a double top and come down to the 50-day moving average, which is currently at 643. We did close at the 20-day moving average. Now, this is different than IREN. IREN closed below it. This closed at it, and in post went and held above it. So that's actually a little better. If this opens up above the 20-day moving average and holds above the 20-day moving average, I wouldn't be too concerned about this down move today on CORZ, and I may be even looking for it to retest the highs again on CORZ. So that is a little bit of a different close than IREN. Now, if it opens up below the 20-day moving average, I am looking for a move down to 831, which is the bottom of this double top here. And if it goes beneath that, I'm looking for it to revisit the 50-day moving average there. That's all the miners that went down real big today. It's a quick rundown of all of those right now. All right, so let's go and visit some tickers we haven't talked about in quite some time. First of all, Palantir. What has Palantir been up to? Palantir has been going up in a big way for a while here. Actually, around 25 bucks, I sold some calls off of my shares, which are down right now. I mean, I will collect the premium and have to sell the shares if it stays at the current prices. But if it comes down in the next month, then I'll keep the premium and the shares. I am hoping it comes back down. Now, the reason I'm hoping it comes back down, or I think it'll come back down, not just hoping, but thinking it will come back down, is one, it's in the red cloud. Okay, now that doesn't really mean anything, right? So what? It's in the cloud, whatever. But I'm looking for a small RSI divergence here. Small one, not a big one, but a small one. Notice how price is higher, but the peak was about the same or a little bit lower than here. So June 20th, actually June 18th, we had a price of 26.12 and an RSI of about 81, almost 82. And then today we had a price of 28.31 and an RSI of about 81, almost 82. So that's a slight divergence in RSI. It's not a big one, it's a slight one, but it's still there. I'd be looking for a breakage of this yellow line right here. So I'm watching. It might bounce off this yellow line, which even if it came down to that yellow line, that's 25.85. I'd get my money back. I'd be back in the money in that situation. In terms of having my sold calls be worth something to me to buy back if I wanted to. But if it breaks this yellow line, I am looking for a move. Let me remove this cloud here. I don't want to see that box anymore. I would be looking for a move all the way down to about $22 if it breaks that. About right here. Right there. Yeah, I'd be looking for a move all the way down to about 22.25, 22.24. I don't know if it'll go there to the penny, but even if it comes below 23, I'll be able to buy back those calls for a significant discount. So that'd be great. But I'm looking for it to break this yellow ascending line here and then come back down to about $23. Now, that is what I'm looking at. So yeah, so RSI oversold. There's a slight divergence in the RSI and volume is curling downward. So it has been going up on lower volume. Let me bring this up. So yeah, it was going up, 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 and now the sell volume is getting there, is coming through. Also, we got a hammer candle right here on July 8th at the top of the range. That's not good when it's at the top of the range like that. So I am looking for this to reverse and come flying at least back down to $24, maybe all the way to 22.24 if it does a full move down on Palantir. All right, let's take a look at Adobe. I haven't talked about Adobe in a while. So this is a weekly chart here that we're looking at. All right, we got a weekly chart right here. Okay, so what am I going to do with this weekly chart? So one, it was a cup and handle. Remember me talking about this cup right here and that handle right there? Well, that turns out that it broke that handle. Look at that, it broke the handle. Isn't that beautiful? Well, the smaller handle broke. This is the bigger handle. I really want to see this one break. But right now we're on our way to the larger part of the handle, the bigger handle. So we broke this descending channel. We broke it dramatically. Now, if we come here and look at this cup and handle, and I take a ruler, right? And I go to the top of the brim, right? Notice how, okay, notice how we just barely managed to stay just ever so slightly above the midline of that cup, which means that this handle here still in play. This could still be a big old cup and handle on Adobe. Now, what am I watching for right now? We are currently overbought on the weekly. Don't like that. I want to see it come down a little bit. Let me go down to the daily to show you where I want to look. So if you caught this upside on this, by the way, congratulations. This is awesome. But if not, we're looking for a return to the 200-day moving average, which is currently about here at 543.93. I'm looking for a return to about 543.93. That's where I want to see some action. I want to see it not. I want to see the 20 converge with the 200. I want to see price interact with those two lines pretty much at the same time and then bounce off of them. And if I see a bounce off of them, I'd be interested in picking up some Adobe all the way up to about $610 on Adobe. So that's what I'm looking for there. If we break above $610, that means we're breaking out of this massive cup and handle, which could easily take us back up to about $700 and beyond on Adobe. So we're watching that close. So that's something I'm still looking at. TMF, the bonds, they are still suffering. The bonds are still suffering. They are waiting for rate cuts to come through. They haven't come through yet. Honestly, I'm just waiting. I'm just sitting and waiting. Price on this could still come down to about $44 or lower if we get no cuts or if the Fed says something hawkish. And if the Fed starts getting dovish, which we are expecting to happen soon, I would like to see it trading above this pink line first, which is at 52.52. I want to see it trading above that solidly for probably a week now, maybe more, because we've seen it do that before and dive again. I want to see it trade above that solidly, make a move, and then I'd be looking at it to potentially start coming up to some of these other lines like 60, 75, 95 more. It will get back to these lines because they will have to cut eventually, but they aren't doing it yet. And if you're in the bonds, you're suffering because they're not cutting, and the fact that they're not cutting is causing the bonds to continually lose value. All right, moving on to the next one. Disney. I haven't talked about Disney in quite some time here. So Disney went up over that $100, like I mentioned a while ago. It went way higher than that, actually. And now it's cooled off again. It's come down. It did this little swoop action here and then a flush. And it flushed way down below this. I don't know why I had this red line on here. It was on there when I opened it, but like it was a good line, I guess, because that's where we went to again. I am looking for currently right now on Disney. I am looking for... Ooh, that's not good. So I'd be looking for a retest of this pink line or the 200-day moving average, either 98.81 or 99.30, and seeing where it interacts there. As long as it's trading below that, I'm not looking for it to go any higher than that, really. It could do that and fail and come all the way down to like 92.35. Honestly, on Disney, that could happen. But I would want to see, now there is a slight RSI divergence. Again, you can see it's about the same RSI at about 21 with a much lower price. And when it had it back here, it had it at $97. Now we're at, we went as low as 96.34, and we have the same level RSI. So there's a slight RSI divergence. If we break, like honestly, if we break this trend line here, if we break that to the upside, which would require, that'll take us up to the 200-day moving average where we may find some resistance. And if we break through it, we're going to the 50 at 103. If we cannot do that, we're likely to come back down into support, which is a little bit lower than we currently are at, which would be, yeah, that would set us around like $93 to $92 on Disney. Around that area, that's where I'd be looking for some more. Like I'd be looking for, honestly, I'm looking at, let me get down to the weekly. Let me turn off. No, I don't want to turn off anything. I'm looking at this descending trend line here. I'm looking at that as an area for support on the way down, which currently is about like 94.40 on the weekly. Volume is curling a little bit. We are oversold on the weekly, so I don't necessarily seeing it go a lot lower, but I do want to see it trade above the 200-day moving average before I'd feel comfortable in an up move. Look at this textbook head and shoulders right here, though. You got shoulder, head, shoulder, came right down into support. Oof, that was really good. This could be the bottom of the move, so it's important to watch it carefully. This could be where it bottoms out and curls back over, but it might also be faking you out. So that's why it's important to wait for confirmation. And I think in this case, that confirmation is going to be price trading above the 200-day moving average again on Disney. All right, let's move on to IWM. IWM has been disappointing for a while. We are currently in a bit of an ascending channel, which you can see right here. Like honestly, I could even connect it back here a little bit, like boom, there to there. This little channel right here, we've been in this since June 14th. And we have just been kind of hanging out near the bottoms with a slight upward move to it. Now, this could break to the downside if it does. And honestly, I'm feeling like it might, given how RSI is just struggling around this 50 area for such a long time. It's currently at the 50. It's interacting with the signal line. If it goes below the signal line on the RSI, and volume is still kind of dropping, as you can see here on the oscillator, I would be looking for price on IWM to come down to like the 195, 196 area. So I'd be looking for it to come to about right around here, right in this little zone here, and then start turning around and curling back up. This might be the final liquidity sweep before we finally go back up and hopefully cross over to 10. And I'd be looking for, when it comes back up, I'm looking for it to, honestly, I want to do about right there. I'm looking for it to cross above this descending line, and then I'd be looking for that larger move up towards that 210. But I do think that this will likely break to the bottom, break to the downside. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this to break to the downside because we're not going to get any good news about the Fed anytime soon. And once it swoops down one more time, collect some of that liquidity just like it did back here in April, collect some more of that liquidity, and then we swoop back up to 10. That might be just enough to break us over that 210 area and take us out. But if I saw a breakage of this line here, I'd be looking to potentially make a trade on IWM up to at least 205 off of breaking this. So if it breaks it, like it comes down and like 3 weeks from now, it breaks this down here just under $200. I'd be looking for it to move up to 205, and potentially if it looks strong, holding it up to 210 where it constantly has been failing. And then there I'd be really watching it close to see if it's going to break 210 or if it's going to fold back down on itself and go back to 200, because it just can't seem to break that 210 yet. And when it does break that 210 though, it's going to break it dramatically. So I do think it's going to swoop down at least one more time here, come close to this pink line, and maybe not all the way to it, but close to it, and then curl back up, break this descending trend line, and then move up into at least the middle of this range between 200 and 210 on IWM sometime in the near future. Last one, SoFi. SoFi has been getting punished. They had a huge insider sell. They sold like 20 million shares. That was like back here mid-June when that happened. Honestly, I've just been very hands-off with this thing ever since that one trade didn't work out with the earnings back here. This earnings trade didn't work out for me. I was just watching it. It broke that line. I heard that news and I was like, ooh, I don't know. SoFi is not really a big enough thing for me to bother wanting to follow anymore. That's why I haven't talked about it in a while. Like, it was a failed trade for me. You saw it be a failed trade for me, and then they got some really bad news about insider traders and stuff, and I was just completely just stopped paying attention to SoFi. And honestly, I'm not too interested in SoFi until I see good news about it, but I haven't really been looking for good news about it because I have so many other tickers that I'm interested in. So like, honestly, this is one that's kind of fallen to the wayside for me. And even if it does really well, uh, I'm much more interested in things like Palantir, Adobe, Disney, TMF, and the miners than I, have any time for SoFi. So that's all I got there for SoFi. Honestly, it doesn't look great. I think we do have a hammer candle that it printed today at the bottom of the range, but it's done that several times before and barely got anything more than like a 30-cent move out of that. So I'm not going to read into that too much. This chart is all over the place. It's getting punished. At some point, it might recover and find itself back up like $8, $9, but I won't be there for it. I'm not that interested in it. Anyways, that's all I've got for you today. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this video, and have a profitable day.